Hello everyone, how's it going? It's Nordic here, back with another video. Today we are doing a look back at a draft 5 years ago in the first year of this YouTube channel, the 2020 NHL Draft. Let's hop in. We are going to be revisiting the entire first round and more from the 2020 NHL Draft. All of the players who were drafted, I'll give my thoughts on whether they were a bust or a steal or overall just a good pick. So regardless, we got a lot to talk about here, 32 picks and a bunch more. We'll do some awards at the end too, like best player, biggest steal, all that good stuff. But let's hop right in. First off, Alexis Lafreniere of the New York Rangers was drafted first overall all the way back in 2020 by the Rangers. He was obviously playing in the QMJHL. That was during the COVID year, so his season got shortened. And then he comes in, he gets drafted by the Rangers in his rookie season, has 21 points in 56 games played, and now he's heading into his sixth NHL season, which is just actually insane for me to think. His career high came in 23-24, the year the Rangers won the President's Trophy. He scored 28 goals, a career high, 29 assists, a career high, and then 57 points, which was also a career high. He had 14 points in 16 games played in the playoffs. Overall, 381 games played, 92 goals, 101 assists for 193 points with the Rangers. So for Lafreniere, he was the first overall pick, obviously. He had a lot of potential. The Rangers obviously lost in the wild card round that year, and the way the draft lottery went, the wild card team was getting the first overall pick, which was insane, but, we don't have to talk about that. And the Rangers were the ones that got lucky here, and they got Alexis Lafreniere. But overall, like the Rangers with many of the other players they've drafted prior, like Capo Caco, you could even look at current day, like a guy like Gabe Peralt, players who they've drafted, they've really struggled to develop young players and develop that curve, and they haven't been able to do so. So Lafreniere, I would say with the numbers he's putting up, like a 60-point guy is solid, but he's only done that once in his career. Overall, for the Rangers, has not been what he was supposed to be. Quinton Byfield took a little bit to fully get into the NHL. He spent some time the first 2 years or so of his career down below with the Ontario Reign, but he was the second overall pick by the Los Angeles Kings. He would start off his rookie season in 21-22, played 40 games, had 5 goals, 5 assists, 10 points. Definitely not what you wanted. He would spend time down with the Ontario Reign as well. The following year, 22 points, 53 games played. And then 23-24 and 24-25 is where he would really start actually getting consistent NHL minutes and performing really well. Most notably, his career high in 23-24, where he scored 20 goals, a career high 35 assists for 55 points with the LA Kings. This past year, obviously, did good as well. Didn't hit his career high. He was 1 point shy, but still pretty solid. Overall, 262 games played, had 52 goals, 92 assists for 144 points. I just think Byfield has taken longer to develop, in a sense. And I feel like with the way he's played in the last 2 seasons, he is slowly starting to live up to that second-round pick hype. And I think overall has been a very solid player. There's really no doubt about it. Again, getting to the 55-point mark twice in his career, you see the real consistency there you didn't see with Alexis Lafreniere. And then also he was signed to that big contract in 23-24, which looks pretty good now here as well. But regardless, I think Byfield, not really second overall pick hype with the number of points he's put up, but still, I think he's been solid here for the LA Kings. You also got to remember that this is the COVID draft, so it's really kind of, some of these players have struggled to develop, but I still think Byfield's been very good regardless for the Kings for sure. Tim Stützle for me is by far the best player in this draft without a doubt. He was drafted 3rd overall by the Ottawa Senators in 2020. He went into his rookie season in 2020-21, played 53 games, had 12 goals, 17 assists for 29 points that past year, playing alongside the rookies and Kirill Kaprizov and such. His career high came in 2022-23, where he played 78 games, had 39 goals, 51 assists for 90 points. Has not really been able to get back to that 90-point mark. Got just shy of 80 points last year, but that year was by far his career high. Stützle's career numbers: 367 games played, 115 goals, 211 assists for 326 points. I think Stu has been, regardless, a very, very good player for Ottawa. And again, I feel like he has lived up to that third overall pick hype. Again, not point per game. He's a little bit under that, but has had some really good seasons here with the Ottawa Senators and has been consistent throughout his entire career. I know that, again, like he might not get back to that 100-point mark or the 90-point mark. He could. I'm not saying that like it's impossible. But even if he does stay at an 85 sub-point player, I think that's very good. So Stützle there, I think, is by far the best player in this draft so far and is worth being a third overall, 100%. Lucas Raymond of the Detroit Red Wings has been on a pretty good trajectory here when you look at his overall career numbers. Drafted 4th overall by the Red Wings. His rookie season came in 21-22, where he played 82 games, had 23 goals, 34 assists for 57 points. He would be alongside Moritz Seider with those two players on Detroit in like that Calder year. He was phenomenal in his rookie season. His career high was just this past year: 82 games played, 27 goals, 53 assists, which is a career high, and then 80 points, which is also a career high. His overall career statistics: 320 games played, 98 goals, 156 assists for 254 points since he's been drafted. Raymond, I feel like, again, has played a little bit lesser of seasons than the previous two players. Hasn't played that many, only heading into his 5th NHL season. But still, this guy is still great. He's got that good playmaking skill, that scoring knack. I would say he's the best player on Detroit. He did outscore Stützle this year by 1 point. He's had a pretty good trajectory, though. He's kind of trended up in the right direction. Last year had 72 points. In 24-25 had 80. He's really going up on a good trajectory here, so I got to give a lot of credit where it's due. Raymond, I think, has probably been, to be honest with you, the 2nd or 3rd best player in this draft. But he's been awesome for sure. Jake Sanderson is probably by far the best defenseman in this draft for the Ottawa Senators and overall. He was drafted 5th overall. He obviously would play for the University of North Dakota for 2 seasons before coming over in 2022-23. He played 77 games in his rookie year, had 4 goals, 28 assists for 32 points. His career high came just this past year: 80 games played, 11 goals, 46 assists for 57 points. I had Jake Sanderson in my top 5 in, top 15 in defenseman rankings this past offseason. You want to go watch that video? It's in the videos in this channel. But regardless, Sanderson's been phenomenal for the Ottawa Senators, and especially really took that big step this year as a good defenseman on both sides of the ice. He's been very consistent in that remark and been a pretty exciting guy there for the Senators for sure. I would argue, unless if I'm forgetting somebody, he probably is the best defenseman in this draft. Sanderson has been awesome for the Ottawa Senators, and I expect these numbers to continue. Again, if I didn't say them already, 236 games played, 25 goals, 102 assists for 127 points. He's been awesome. Jamie Drysdale is next. He is another fun case here. He was drafted by the Anaheim Ducks in 2020, 6th overall. In his rookie year, would play 24 games, splitting time with the San Diego Gulls. Had 3 goals, 5 assists for 8 points. His career high came in 21-22, where he played 81 games, had 4 goals, 28 assists for 32 points, alongside, obviously, Trevor Zegras in that team. In 23-24, he would get traded from the Anaheim Ducks to the Philadelphia Flyers in exchange for Cutter Gauthier. Drysdale, this past year with Philadelphia, played 70 games, had 7 goals, 13 assists for 20 points. His career numbers: 217 games played, 19 goals, 53 assists for 70 points. Look, he has not been worthy of the 6th overall pick that he was drafted at. He was not worthy of that, and he still isn't. I think, though, and I will say this, he slowly improved and got better and better as the year went along for the Flyers. So I'm going to give a lot of credit there. I thought he got better as the seasons went down for Philadelphia. But again, he's still a ways away from proving that he is worth that pick. But he's still only 23 years old. There is plenty of time to prove that. So Jamie Drysdale for me, Definitely has not lived up to the hype of 6th overall, but to be honest with you, I think overall has still been a decent player here and still has potential to improve. Now, I fear Alexander Holtz has not lived up to the potential. We have our first real bust here of the draft. Drafted 7th overall. He would play in his rookie season, 9 games. Obviously, would play 19 the following year. His first full year was 82 games with the Devils, had 16 goals, 12 assists, 28 points. He would get traded then over to Vegas. And then his career high numbers, 163 games played, 23 goals, 23 assists for 46 points. I mean, I will say something here. Holtz never really got a full chance in New Jersey to perform. He had good numbers in the AHL, 13 points in 16 games played with Henderson this past year, had 51 points in 52 games played in 21-22. So you could see the potential, but it really never worked out. And I think that, as well as that too, Holtz just, I don't think he's been that well when he's gotten time to perform. He's played 2 full seasons. He's only amounted up to what? That's 32 points. So overall, been very underwhelming, or 40 points, sorry. Has been very underwhelming here at the NHL level. So don't really have much to say about him. He has been probably the first bust of this draft. Next up then, Jack Quinn at 8th overall to the Buffalo Sabres. He's been one of those guys too who has kind of had a nice trajectory as his career's gone along. Again, the 8th overall pick. His rookie season, 75 games played, 14 goals, 23 assists for 37 points. Would get injured last year, and then this past year with Buffalo, 74 games played, 15 goals, 24 assists for 39 points, putting up all career numbers. His overall stats, 178 games played, 39 goals, 58 assists for 97 points. I gotta say, though, I do feel like Quinn certainly has maybe won't live up to the 8th overall potential, but could be a decent middle sixer. Again, last year took a bigger step last season. I think that if you want to see progress, maybe we'll see that again this year, but overall, for me, not really a ton of thoughts on Quinn. I think he can be a decent middle six or maybe a bottom 6 player. But overall, definitely not worth the 8th overall. But he really hasn't been, like, bad, per se. Like, he hasn't been terrible. He's still been consistent here with the Sabres. So here's our first real steal here of the draft. Marco Rossi, who has been through a lot since he's been drafted 9th overall in 2020. Obviously, he dealt with COVID, and it was so bad that he had to be in the hospital for a month. He missed a full season of hockey. His rookie year would come in, I would say his first full season comes in 23-24, where he had 82 games played, 21 goals, 19 assists for 40 points with Minnesota. A good first year, for sure, developing that young curve. And then this past year would go up and take a step even further, which is his career high, 24 goals, 36 assists for 60 points, all a career high here. He goes in, he signs a 5-year contract worth $5 million. So a good extension there for sure by the Minnesota Wild. And overall, Rossi has slowly taken the steps. He didn't have an ideal start to his NHL career, but he's slowly been getting better and better, and I would expect for him to probably maybe end up around 70 points. You could see this coming year if everything goes right. But for Marco Rossi, he's definitely taken the steps to become worth at his 9th overall pick. So I got really no complaints here for him whatsoever. Cole Perfetti of the Winnipeg Jets. Now, I got to say that this guy has been an awesome pick for Winnipeg. Has taken steps slowly every single year. He, again, was the 10th overall pick back in 2020. Would play 82 games with Winnipeg. Had 18 goals, 32 assists for 50 points with the team. His rookie year, I know I just went way ahead. Sorry, I don't know what I was thinking. His rookie year would play 51 games at 8 goals, 22 assists for 30 points as well. His career numbers, 222 games, had 47 goals, 78 assists for 125 points with Winnipeg. I really do think Perfetti has really lived up to the hype. And I think that you're slowly getting improvement here from him. Now, I know this year is not ideal because he did just get injured to start the season, but he is coming up on a contract year. I wouldn't be shocked if with Winnipeg losing a guy like Nikolai Ehlers and then needing somebody to take a real boost, I would not be shocked in a career year if Cole Perfetti comes in there and gets like 60, 70 points. I would not be shocked in the slightest. And to be honest with you, I feel like Jets fans would love that. So, regardless, I think Perfetti's been great at the NHL level, and I think that there's only room to improve from here. So, I think Perfetti's been worth that 10th overall pick. Yaroslav Askarov is up next. Askarov's had a bit of an interesting story. He was obviously drafted 11th overall. He would play a couple of seasons with the Milwaukee Admirals, put up great numbers there, back-to-back .911 seasons, only played 3 games with the Nashville Predators. Jose Saros gets signed to that big extension last offseason, not this past one we had, the last one before that, and Askarov was like, no, I want to get the hell out of here. So he requested a trade, and as a result, he is now a San Jose Shark, where I don't think his NHL numbers this past year should really depict the kind of goalie that Askarov is. You know that he's better than that. In the AHL this past year, put up a .923. This guy's only getting better and better as he goes along. His career numbers, only 16 games in the NHL, 5-7-2 with a .899, but he is expected to be the starter heading into his rookie season here, his real rookie season, and play more than just 13 games. So Askarov, it's a little bit too early to judge whether he's a bust or not, but from what we've seen in the American Hockey League and what we're expecting to see, he more than likely won't be. Stanley Cup champion Anton Lundell, not really known for his offensive numbers, but he is very consistent when he can play offense. Drafted 12th overall. His rookie season came in 21-22, where he put up 44 points in 65 games played. Some very good numbers there with the Florida Panthers. If he wasn't in the same season as Trevor Zegras, Lucas Raymond, and Moritz Seider, he would have been up there for the Calder Trophy for sure. But regardless, Lundell has been phenomenal throughout his career. Just had a career-high season last year in terms of points. Has 296 games played, 60 goals, 97 assists for 157 points. He's been good in the playoffs as well. 46 points in 77 games played. This guy's a perfect playoff player, a perfect third-line center. I mean, maybe you shouldn't have taken him 12th overall, but it's fine. Florida doesn't care about that. They got him here now. He's won back-to-back cups, and he's looking for a third. Now, here's one of the biggest steals in the draft, I would argue. Seth Jarvis was drafted 13th overall by Carolina with the pick that Toronto traded, I believe. His rookie year with Carolina would come in 21-22, where he played 68 games, had 40 points. Again, in that same year as Raymond, Seider, Zegras. That was an insane year for rookies. Bunting was a rookie as well. It was absolutely wild. His career high came just this past year, tying his career high, actually. 32 goals, 35 assists, 67 points. And then as well as that, too, he played 304 games, had 96 goals, 117 assists for 213 points. Jarvis has been phenomenal. When you look at the guys above him and his overall offensive production, he's been a huge steal here for Carolina and just somebody who I'm sure they love a lot and is also a great character as well. Dylan Holloway from the St. Louis Blues. This past year was drafted 14th overall in 2020. He would play games with Edmonton, played 38 games in his last year of the Oilers, had 9 points. Wasn't really working out there. Looked good in the playoffs, though. 5 goals in 25 games played. He would get offer sheeted by the St. Louis Blues. The Oilers didn't take it. He goes into the next year, has a career high by a metric city mile. 77 games played, 26 goals, 37 assists for 63 points. Absolutely incredible. Holloway had such a phenomenal year. Now you ask yourself the question, is he going to be able to repeat that? Was this a year where maybe it was a fluke? I don't think so. I think he's going to be able to repeat this. Maybe not get to 60 again, but could be a good sub 55, maybe 60-point scorer. But you never know. We'll have to see there. Obviously, he did miss some games as well. So Dylan Holloway, one of the ones that, quote, got away from the Edmonton Oilers. We do have to take a moment to acknowledge Rodion Amirov. He was drafted 15th overall by Toronto. Put up some great numbers in the KHL, but he unfortunately passed away a few years ago and unfortunately never made it to the NHL. So I wanted to give a second here to say rest in peace to Rodion Amirov. Now we're going to go a little bit quickly here. We're going to go through the next couple of picks, starting off with Caden Gooley. Has been a very good defensive defenseman for Montreal since he's come into the NHL. Only 58 points in 170 games played, but that should not depict anything whatsoever. He has been a great defensive guy there for the Canadiens. You have Lucas Reichel here, who Reichel is certainly He's been okay at the NHL level. Did just come off of a career high, but it's a low bar to set. Only 22 points in 70 games played, only 54 and 169. There were rumors that they were looking to move on from him, so there's that. Dawson Mercer here as well. Mercer was a longtime Devil heading into his 5th season. His career high came in 22-23, where he had 56 points, scored 27 goals, has struggled to replicate that since. Braden Schneider, drafted 19th overall by New York, has been all right, playing consistent 80-game seasons. His career high came last year, actually, where he had 21 points in 80 games played. He's been a good, solid third-pairing defenseman for the Rangers, but really has been nothing much more than that. He still is 24. There were rumors of, like, maybe they could trade him, but you never know, to be honest with you. We'll see what happens there. But Schneider has been nice and consistent here for the Rangers. Shakir Mukhamadullin is one of my favorite guys. Just finished up his rookie season last year. Had 30 games played, 2 goals, 7 assists, 9 points. He is expected to be a full-time defenseman this year for the Sharks, which is good because their blue line's not that great. He's put up good numbers in the AHL, though, when he has played. And then Yegor Chinnikov most recently requested a trade out of Columbus. Can't really seem to stay in the lineup this past year. Only played 30 games, had 15 points. His career high is 29 points in 53 games played. So overall, Chinnikov probably leaning on the bust side here. But you never know. If he does get traded somewhere else, maybe he can turn his career around. Hendrix Lapierre, Calder Cup champion, has played 85 games in his career, but has spent a lot of the time the last 3 seasons in the minors. He would play 27 games last year, had 8 assists, but with Hershey in the American Hockey League, had 32 games, 32 points. He's been good down below in the AHL, but has struggled to not only stay up in the NHL, but produce in the NHL as well. There's still a lot of time, but Lapierre has become one of those guys who was drafted later on, so I guess it's okay, but overall, I wouldn't say he's lived up to expectations. Tyson Forster then for the Philadelphia Flyers took a step last year, had 25 goals, 43 points in 81 games played. It is expected for another step to be taken here from him, but he's been very good for the Flyers since he's been drafted. 48 points in 22-23 with the AHL. He's been slowly taking steps and getting better and better every single year. And then Connor Zary scored a goal last night in the Oilers home opener. Shout out Watch with Nordic. His career high comes in 23-24 where he had 34 points in 63 games played. Let's hope he's able to put the puck in the net some more here. But overall, he's been pretty solid. Justin Barron was traded this past year from the Montreal Canadiens over to the Nashville Predators. He was unable to really sustain success in Montreal, and as a result, he was traded over to Nashville this past year, where he did improve. He got better. He almost tied his career high in points, actually. Didn't tie it, just he's been okay, to be honest with you, but he has kind of lived under expectations, but he was picked later in the first round. Jake Neighbors has lived up to expectations, has scored 56 goals in 211 games, coming off of a 27-goal season in 23-24, scored 5 less, but is still very consistent, had a career high last year in 46 points. He's one of my favorites for sure. And then Jacob Peralt, I hate to break it to you guys, I see a lot of pink and not a lot of yellow, so that kind of tells you that he is a bust. Then we move through the last 4 picks here of the first round before we head into the later rounds. Ridley Gregg of the Ottawa Senators just had a career-high season, but it really wasn't that much more. He had 13 goals, 21 assists, 34 points. Overall has been a solid middle sixer for the Ottawa Senators, but I really am expecting a step this season from him. But overall, I think he's definitely been solid. Brendan Brisson has also been interesting too. You see a lot of pink there instead of yellow. Only played 24 games in the NHL. He bounced around a little bit last year. Overall, has kind of struggled to even break the NHL, to be blunt. Maverick Bourque has been a massive steal for Dallas at 30th overall. He just had 25 points in 73 games in his rookie season. He is expected to take another step, and he was just signed to a basically league minimum contract for this season. And then Ozzy Weisblatt, taken with the last pick in that draft, did play 5 games this past year with Nashville, but has spent most of his time in the American Hockey League between San Jose and Milwaukee. We're going to kind of bounce around a little bit here through the next couple of rounds. We're going to preview a couple players from there, and then we're going to wrap up. We're going to start off with J.J. Peterka, who was just traded from the Sabres to the Utah Mammoth. I remember back in that draft, there were many teams who really wanted Peterka, and they picked in the first round, and he dropped all the way back down to Buffalo. He just had a career year last year, 68 points in 77 games played. He was traded then to the Mammoth, and just overall has been really solid and one of the bigger steals from this draft, I would say. Looking down the list here, you see guys like Sam Colangelo, who just took a big step this past year. Marek Kuznetsov was one of the notable guys there as well. He is now with the Boston Bruins. Luke Evangelista is an interesting case here as well. Played 68 games last year, had 32 points. He did just come off of a RFA holdout. He finally did sign, but that is his second-round pick there, who has been a sub-half point per game player, and I think that you can definitely take that and be happy with it for sure. You look at the other guys here. You see Emil Heineman, Tyler Klevin, Brock Faber as well. Remember, he was drafted by LA, traded in the Kevin Fiala deal. He would play 78 games, had 10 goals, 19 assists for 29 points this past year. Before that, in his rookie year, he was a lot better. Definitely took a step back, but I am expecting a step forward. Overall, he's been a pretty big steal, I would argue. You look at the other guys here as well. You see going down the list, Joel Blomqvist is notable. Emil Andre is notable. Mason Lohrei, who was pretty good for Boston in his rookie year, and then this past year had the worst plus-minus in the entire league. You're hoping for a bounce back there from Mason Lohrei for sure, but he's been all right for Boston besides that one really bad year. And looking at the second round then, that's pretty much it. I see my boy here, Gage Gonzalez, who just made his NHL season debut this past year. 20 points in 60 games played. He is a Watch with Nordic legend. So if anybody who watches the streams, you'll know. I forgot to mention him in the second round. I don't know how I missed him, but Will Cooley, I was looking through the edited videos here. Cooley is very, very solid. Had a great year last year with the Rangers in what was his second season. 45 points, scored 20 goals, has a career high 66 points in 168 games played. Is going to get better and better, I would imagine. So I got no complaints there about Will Cooley for sure. I forgot to give him a shout out when I was doing my second round. On to round 3. There's a couple of notable guys here that you definitely want to take a look at. First off, Alexander Nikishin is going to be making his NHL debut this coming, tonight, when you watch this video, he'll make his debut tonight. He put up good numbers in the KHL last couple of years, was ranked by some people as the #1 prospect. He's been phenomenal in the KHL, but it has remained to be seen what the NHL is going to be like. But there is a lot of hype there for sure. You look down the list here, you have Levi Merilainen as well, who just finished up his quote-unquote rookie season with Ottawa, had a .925 in 12 games played. Some might argue that he literally carried Ottawa to the playoffs, or kind of saved their asses and got them to the playoffs, more or less. And I think that this coming year, he will be the backup behind Linus Ullmark. So that's pretty sick. You see some other players here like Jean-Luc Fody. You also got guys like Landon Slaggert who haven't made their debuts just yet, or have made their debuts but haven't really broken out just yet. Alex Laferriere, I think he's the last guy we'll preview in this round. 42 points in 77 games played this past year, had a good career-high season. You're expecting more out of him there for sure, but he's been somebody who was a third-round pick that has become a pretty nice acquisition by the LA Kings. And looking at that third round, that's pretty much it in terms of notable players, at least as of right now. The fourth round is pretty slim in terms of players who have played in the NHL. The most notable one that I see is Mikhail Paitia. 47 games played this past year of Columbus, had 7 points. Really the most notable guy out of all of this. Fourth round pick, kind of expected the numbers there. Looking at some of the names here, I recognize Zayden Wisdom. I recognize a guy like Dylan Garand as well, a goalie for New York. Jan Bednar I recognize. But overall, this fourth round is pretty slim, I must say. The fifth round's got some decently notable players, but really nothing here crazy either, to be honest with you. The guy who's played the most games is Matt Kessel for St. Louis. I thought of Phil Kessel. Had 29 games played this past year, had 3 assists with the St. Louis Blues. Has played games as a defenseman, but can't really seem to crack the lineup for a full-time season. Apart from that, this fifth round is looking pretty weak, I gotta say. I see a couple of names I recognize, like Jakub Dobish. I should have actually noted went to him first. Dobish, obviously, last year with Montreal, at a .909 in 16 games played. Probably actually looking at it now is the best player out of this entire 5th round. But yeah, Dobish has been good there for Montreal. We'll see what this season holds, but looking at the rest of these names, I don't really see anything that's that much notable. The 6th and 7th rounds, I'm going to be blunt with you, are not very interesting. You see a couple of notable names here, like Nils Aman, who's played 130 games with the Canucks, obviously. Played 19 this past year. Has been mostly an AHLer, though. Did win, or actually, no, he wasn't there with Abbotsford, so never mind. But yeah, Nils Aman there with 130 games played is really the most notable one out of this entire 6th round. The 7th round, there are a few more names that, you can obviously look at and bring up. You look here, you have Devin Levi, who was picked late in that 7th round here by the Sabres. Has been struggling to really get into the NHL and play consistent amount of games. Has played 39 over 3 seasons. Has really struggled to stay in there as like their starter or backup. It really has been inconsistent. But overall, that's pretty much your 2020 NHL draft. Maybe I missed a couple of guys here. There were a few notable players that I could have brought up, but to be honest with you, looking at all these guys, it's pretty slim. Now we're going to move on to the awards here. The best player in this draft is without a doubt Tim Stützle. You look at his numbers ever since he entered the NHL. You see 59 points, 90 points, 70 points, 79 points. He's been a very consistent scorer. He does lead the entire draft in terms of points, so he's been very phenomenal there for sure, but overall, Stu is by far the best player for me. The biggest bust for me, I got to be honest with you, I'm going with Alexander Holtz. Drafted 7th overall, only 46 points is just kind of ridiculous. I understand, maybe Alexis Lafreniere hasn't lived up to the, Rangers' potential, but he's still a good 60-point player. Holtz has stayed consistently in the NHL, but just hasn't been able to really get anything going. The biggest steal, even though he's not even on the team anymore, I'm going to go with JJ Peterka. Drafted second round by Buffalo, is I think 5th or 6th in points in anybody in this draft. Getting a 2nd round pick from that is awesome. So you got to give a lot of credit there to JJ Peterka. Buffalo, I would say this is great, but they traded him. So there you go. The best goalie in this draft is a little bit difficult because, again, these goalies haven't played a ton. Askarov, I believe, has played the most out of any of them. I feel like of all of these goalies in this list, like Jakub Dobish, Devin Levi, he will be the best by far. So Askarov, I got to go with him for sure, though. He was drafted in the 1st round for a reason. And then a player that I want to shout out here at the end is Matt Rempe. I completely missed him when I was looking through the 6th round, drafted in 2020, obviously, 6th round pick, has been a pretty big icon there for the New York Rangers. So he is my shout-out player of this draft. Well, there you go. That is a deep dive look at the 2020 NHL draft. We went through all 7 rounds. I think we pretty much covered every single player, but let me know if I missed somebody who I did not mean to talk about. But thank you all so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe down below. That'd be much appreciated. But anyways, that is it for me. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.